At this time, I want you to join in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
One moment, I'm sorry for the interruption. It didn't start, I clicked the button, it didn't start. We had to start from scratch. The screen got stuck for some reason.
Good evening. At this time, I want to invite you to join in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Sumter School District May 10th, 2021 Board Meeting. All persons wishing to attend the virtual meeting may do so via YouTube, Sumter School District Board Meetings, and Sumter School District's Facebook page. Due to COVID-19 and in compliance with recent public health orders, no members from the public will be able to attend the meeting in person. This meeting is held in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. The news media has been notified, and a copy of the agenda has been made available to the public. The mission of Sumter School District is to equip students to be responsible, successful, and productive citizens in a global society. The vision. Sumter School District develops and cultivates competitive students who embrace diversity, act responsibly, and contribute positively to society. Our board members are Barbara Jackson, Area 7 Chairwoman, J. Frank Baker, C8 Vice Chairman, Darrell McGaney, Area 5 Clerk, Brian Alston, Area 1, Cheryl Ray, Area 2, Matthew McLeod, Area 3, Johnny Hilton, Area 4, Gloria Rose Lee, Area 6, Sean T. Reagan, Area 9, or Seat 9, Robin Mills, Deputy Director of Installation Support, Shaw Air Force Base Representative, and our Superintendent, Dr. Penelope Martin Knox, Amy Hanson, our Administrative Manager. This meeting is now called to order. Good evening again, and thank you for joining us for this meeting. My fellow trustees and I want to thank you for your continued support of Sumter School District. I trust everyone enjoyed celebrating Mother's Day this past weekend, whether it was a celebration in honor of or in memory of our precious mothers. We are now approaching the end of the 2020-2021 school year. We, along with the world, face unimaginable challenges this year, and we cannot express enough our gratitude to our teachers, administrators, and all of our staff in every capacity who have stepped up to provide us with dedicated and committed service. Every position is important, and every person is valued. We remain #Sumter Strong. We're down to number 2, the approval of agenda. Upon consensus and with no objection, the agenda will stand approved as written. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. We are now down to item number 3, board recognitions. Dr. Martin Knox, I believe you have some very special guests to bring before the board. Will you now share the information regarding this evening's recognitions?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Chairwoman Jackson, Vice Chairman Baker, members of the Sumter School District Board, and members of the Sumter School District community, as well as Ms. Connie Jackson, who is here with us this evening. As we continue to move through the pandemic and ensuring that our district is operating the way it should, and that is with children at the forefront of our thinking, it's most important that we continue to recognize those who are behind the scenes, if you will, but are also on the front line of the work that takes place each and every day. And so at this time, I have Mr. Myers, who's here with us, who will present certificates to 4 individuals who are absolutely phenomenal in the work that they do here in our school district, and 1 who has been recognized for state accomplishments. So Mr. Myers, would you do the honors as to introduce those individuals and why?
Okay. Thank you, and good evening to everyone. We do have 4 individuals that we're going to recognize this evening. Our first person to recognize is Mr. Curtis Johnson. Mr. Johnson is noted on the screen. Mr. Johnson is our athletic director for Sumter High School, and he has been named the 5A State Athletic Director of the Year. And he is very much into making sure that our children are given opportunities to work and show their talents. And we have 34 various teams at Sumter High School, everything ranging from cheerleading, basketball, football, tennis, golf, and the list goes on. And he has done a superb job, and out of all of the athletic directors around the state, he was chosen as the state's athletic director of the year. Congratulations, Mr. Johnson. Our second set of individuals, Mr. Eddie Harrott, Mr. Joe Abrams, and Mr. Johnny Plowden. These 3 young men have worked diligently on our grounds several months ago, and you'll see them just as they just finished a hard day's worth of work. And along with them is Mr. Bobby Maple, who is now our new supervisor. Prior to Mr. Maple coming on, these 3 gentlemen worked without a supervisor, didn't have to be given cues and clues. They knew what to do. They worked endless days. And if you take a look around Sumter School District, you will see the results of their hard work, and they're continuing to do that. And I just applaud them wholeheartedly. And without a supervisor, they supervised themselves. They were there every day, and they made a difference. And our campuses are second to none when it comes to these young men working diligently and hard every day. So I congratulate them, and they were not available, but they wanted to get a picture so everybody could see them.
Thank you, Mr. Myers.
Thank you.
Make sure you don't scratch that name off and put yours on there.
I'll try not
Okay.
to.
And so at this time, we'd like to recognize additional individuals from the Office or the Department of Human Resources. These are our educators who are either the initial certification for National Board Certification of Teachers, they are renewals, and our content, our cohort leader, Ms. Lyons. At this time, Dr. Kumis will recognize those individuals.
Thank you, Dr. Martin Knox. It is my pleasure to recognize these outstanding individuals for their leadership in the classroom and becoming nationally board certified. Those of you that don't know what's involved, it is a strenuous process that these folks endure the whole year to get nationally board certified, and it is a process. When I say process, I mean these folks really work very hard, and we're extremely proud of them. The first one is for the initial certification, is Miss Ann Frances Brown of Sumter High School. Do I see her on here? Okay. Our next one is Mr. Stephen Edge, Christopher Stephen Edge. There's Mr. Edge from Sumter High School. And the third one is Miss Tanya Peckham from Wilder Elementary School. Ms. Peckham on? Give her a round of applause as well. Our next folks are those that not only went through it the first time, they were brave enough to go through it that second time. So these are our folks that are renewing their national board certification. And our first one is Miss Holly Williamson. Is Miss Williamson with us? She may be YouTubing. Give her a round of applause. And Miss Sherette Washington. And the last one we want to recognize is Miss Lyons, who's going above and beyond. Miss Lyons picked up the torch for our national board. She actually hosts our cohort. She's in charge of getting these folks nationally board certified and has worked very hard over the past couple of years. It's taken a lot off of our plate, her stepping in and helping out. We want to thank you, Miss Lyons, for taking that torch and running with it.
Make sure they get their certificates.
Oh,
Don't put your name on it.
it's already on there.
And the last batch of individuals we will recognize, these are our frontline workers who we rarely see out in front, but I just want to make sure that we recognize the hard work and the efforts that have been put forward from our Office of Student Support Services. And so these are the nurses that we oftentimes don't see, but they are truly here, their presence is felt, and we appreciate them. So at this time, I'd ask Ms. Davis to recognize our phenomenal nurses from Sumter School District.
Thank you, Dr. Martin Knox. I concur. We have a phenomenal group of health services staff. I truly appreciate and thank them for everything they have done, especially during this pandemic. They have been so patient and they've worked so hard to make sure our staff and students have been safe. We have certificates that we recognize them for going above and beyond and taking care of our staff and students. First, Michelle Devine is our lead. I appreciate all of her hard work. I would not have made it this far without her leadership. And then others on the staff for our health services is Victoria Akers from Shaw Heights, Pamela Anderson from Cacala Springs, Mary Bragger from High Hills, Kathy Bracey from Cherryvale, Tiffany Davis from Willow Drive, Samantha Halsbach from Millwood, Sandra Jones from Wilder, Teresa Ketchum from Rafton Creek, Elizabeth Edwards from Alice Drive Elementary, Jennifer Oakley from Oakland Elementary, Pamela Stoops from Marley Wells from R.E. Davis Elementary, Joan White from Kingsbury, Savannah DeVos from Croswell Drive, Roxanne Holloway from Lakewood and Ebenezer, Lara Mims, Furman, and Ebenezer. Furman and Sumter High, Lara. Allie Flowers from Sumter Academy, Kimberly Browning from Sumter High School, Christina Rizzo from Hillcrest, Chantel Allison from Crestwood and Chestnut Oaks, and Dustin Hodge, who just started last Monday. He's been assigned to Sumter High as well. Thank you everyone for once again for your exceptional care to our staff and students. You have been an essential part of what we've been doing every day to remain safe. I would also like to highlight Nurse Davis, Tiffany Davis from Willow. She just responded last week to a serious anaphylactic reaction of a student. It was very serious, but she responded quickly, and we can say she did save that student's life, as the student had a reaction to blueberries, and it was quite serious and dangerous during that time. So we appreciate her and all the others as well. Thank you.
And so Ms. Davis has your certificate, so please make sure you see her to get them. Otherwise, she's going to put them on her wall and take credit for all the work that you do. So thank you again for all you do. And I see Ms. Peckham has joined us. And so Ms. Peckham, we recognized you for your National Board certification as your initial step in the process, and we gave you a round of applause. So and so oftentimes we don't hear the work that you do, but I just wanted to publicly acknowledge you all for what you do each and every day, and to let you know we cannot run a school district without you. So thank you all for everything that you do for our children, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Martin.
Yes, ma'am, that's it, I'm sorry.
Okay, and I will echo the same thing. Congratulations and thank you for being there for us and with us. And we do appreciate all of your services, and we appreciate each of you as well. We're down now to public participation, and the Board of Trustees is pleased to offer time on the agenda for public participation. The procedure for submission of comments has been shared via the district website. As a reminder, submissions are due by Wednesday prior to each regular monthly meeting. At this meeting, we will open the floor not to exceed 15 minutes to the reading of previously submitted comments. Ms. Shelley Galloway will read the public participation comments.
Good evening, Chairwoman Dr. Jackson, Vice Chairman Dr. Baker, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Martin Knox. We received 2 items for public participation. They're both from the same household. The first is from Mania Dawson. She is recommending that we consider at least 3 graduation tickets. Most students do not have the traditional one mother and one father. Many have older siblings. However, we would like to be a part of their special occasion as well. The second public participation is from Matilda Dawson. She wrote, I believe that the seniors in 2021 should receive more than just 2 graduation tickets. There is no actual support to back up the decision of only 2. Children are able to attend school 5 days a week now, regularly, with COVID-19 protocols in place, and the mask regulations have been discontinued. I believe that this should be even more reason for children to not be limited to graduation. I figured the purpose of moving the graduation to Sumter High Stadium was because it is big enough for all families. Sumter High has twice as many students as Crestwood and Lakewood. Therefore, if anything, they should be able to have more people attending their graduation. I suggest to at least see if there are any students who have a major need for more than 2 tickets and let them get a maximum of 5. And that concludes our submissions for public participation.
Thank you, Ms. Galloway. And a response will be forthcoming to those individuals that participate in this, what you read. Thank you so much. We're down now to board communication, number 5. Trustees, I invite you to share any announcements you may have at this time. Want to start on this side? Okay, John?
Yes, I had the pleasure of visiting Lamira Elementary School this week to deliver some dictionaries from the Sumter Rotary Club. I had a nice visit and a nice tour around the school. I also had the pleasure of visiting Alice Drive Middle School, where I delivered some thesauri that were also donated by the Sumter Rotary Club. Had a nice visit there, nice tour, and I thank them for their hospitality at Lamira and Alice Drive Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hilton. All right.
And
Mr. Reed?
I had the privilege of visiting Sumter Academy with Principal Boone, and he took me on a tour, and I was able to see some of the work that's being done inside of that facility, and I can say it's looking nice, and he shared some more other things with me concerning their progress and what they're going to be doing in the future. So thank you, Principal Boone.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan. Ms. Mills? Okay. Dr. Lee? Okay. All right. Well, thank those of you who had something to report as far as communication is concerned. We do appreciate it. And I'm sure that our principals are delighted to see you come and share their accomplishments and let you see what great jobs they're doing there. So thank each of you for participating in board communication. We're down now to 5.2. We will move on to committee reports, and I want to inform you that that the Citizen Advisory Committee met virtually on April 29th at 6:00 p.m., at which time the committee members shared a little about themselves, and Dr. Martin Knox shared a presentation she developed outlining the goals and objectives of the committee. Details forthcoming for the next meeting will be shared, and committee members were asked to submit agenda items to Amy Hansen, Dr. Martin Knox, and I look forward to a working relationship with the individuals who have volunteered their time and service to make the school district and our community stronger. Are there any additional committee reports? Oh, Brian?
Yes, ma'am. The policy committee meeting is scheduled to meet on Wednesday. The policy committee is scheduled to meet on Wednesday, May 19th at 6 p.m. As previously shared, the policy committee recommended first readings of the following policies, which will be presented under the action required section of the agenda. Those policies are ACE, service animals, GBGAA, service animal staff, IMG, animals in schools, and JLCDD, service animal students, as well as BDE/R-R, board committees, and KF, community use of school facilities. That concludes the policy committee report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson. All right, Ms. Ray?
The Finance Committee will have a meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m.
No, ma'am. May 17th.
Oh, 17th, excuse me. We changed it to that.
Okay.
Excuse me, we'll have a meeting May 17th.
That's it. Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Reagan?
No report at this time.
Okay, and Dr. Baker?
No report this time.
Okay, so let's just be reminded of the meetings on May 17th and 19th at 6 o'clock. All right, thank you for the committee report. 5.3, Dr. Hilton, the board legislative contact. Are you prepared to provide a legislative update?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sure you are.
What if I said no?
You will, you don't say.
So So there are only 3 days remaining in the regular 2021 legislative session. The regular session will end this Thursday, May 13th at 5 p.m. However, the legislative session will be extended, but only for 3 limited purposes. And those 3 purposes are completing the state budget, scheduled to conclude by the end of June, and including addressing any vetoes by the governor. Secondly, completing conference committee work for any legislation that passed the House and the Senate in different forms prior to the end of the regular session. And thirdly, completing the constitutionally required redistricting of districts for the General Assembly and the U.S. House of Representatives, which this will most likely take place in September. So now I want to share some of the education-related actions during this last week. On Tuesday, the House provided 3rd reading on several bills. House 3591, this bill would create the South Carolina Teacher Preparation Report Card, which would require annual reporting on educator preparation programs at our institutions of higher learning. Another bill, H 3592, would reform multiple elements of the state's assessment system, including permanently eliminating the state's assessment in social studies in grades 3 through 8, limiting the number of formative assessments a district can administer in a given school year, directing the State Department, beginning with the 22-23 school year, to work with this assessment vendor to embed social studies test items in the SC Ready reading and writing test, and directing the State Department to adopt a statewide list of interim assessments for K through 9 that would provide diagnostic information, including Lexile or quartile scores as appropriate, and mandating all high school students, beginning with 11th grade students in 21-22, to take the ACT with the writing assessment for at least the next 5 years. Also on Tuesday, the Education and Public Works Committee Chairwoman Rita Allison asked the House for unanimous consent to recall Senate Bill 231 from committee for floor debate. This bill would require schools that issue student ID cards in grades 7 through 12 to print the National Prevention Lifeline and at least one additional crisis resource on IDs. As a result of the recall on Wednesday, the House was able to pass this bill unanimously on 2nd reading. The bill received 3rd reading on Thursday and now heads to the governor for his signature into law. While debating another bill, House 3094, to enact the Open Carry with Training Act that would allow anyone with a concealed weapon permit to openly show their firearm in public. The Senate on Wednesday adopted an amendment by a 28-14 vote along party lines to allow a concealable weapon on school premises or school areas within the school leased by a church for services or official church activities. Also on Thursday, the Senate voted to amend further and send back to the House the bill revisiting the state accountability system that, among other things, would dissolve duly elected school boards in districts to be declared in a state of educational emergency. This legislation would increase the authority of the state superintendent of education to take over chronically underperforming schools or districts, including removing the locally elected school board. And finally, the Senate Finance Retirement System Standing Subcommittee took no action but held discussion regarding components of a bill revising the state retirement system from a defined benefit system to allowing new hires to choose between a defined contribution plan and a defined contribution and benefits hybrid plan. Subcommittee Chairman Sean Bennett said a physical impact study on the bill is expected next week. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hilton, for the legislative update. We're now down to Number 6, our Superintendents Report. And Dr. Martin Knox, please proceed with the items listed under the Superintendent's Report.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you again, Chairwoman Jackson, Vice Chairman Baker, members of the Sumter School District Board, and to our community. At this time, I'd like to continue with our presentation by introducing to you all, if you have not met him, Dr. Michael Sontag, who is the president of the University of South Carolina, Sumter. And so, good evening, Dr. Sontag. How are you? We can see you, we can see your lips moving, but the sound, can you turn your sound up just a little? I can hear you only because I have musically trained ears, but it's very low. Shelly, can you do me a favor and unmute and speak to make sure it's not on our end?
He's not muted, this is volume.
No, I know it was his volume. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't on our end, so thank you. You just gave me clarification.
Okay.
Yeah, turn that up, there you go.
Can you try it again, Dr. Sontag?
I was in a meeting earlier at work, and I don't know exactly. I'm gonna go online and see if it works.
So why don't you try that, and I'll go ahead with my report, and then we'll come back as soon as you come back on. Okay? Thank you. So while we're waiting for Dr. Sontag to rejoin us, I just want to take the opportunity to share with you all that last week I had the most pleasant Zoom meeting with a few of the most wonderful children that Sumter School District has to offer. So each school was asked to select a representative to meet with me so that I can hear those things that are working, those things that we can give a little bit of more of attention to, and things that are appealing to our students. And I will say that the common theme or the thread that continued to come out of the mouths of our children was that they wanted more extracurricular opportunities and more time to interact with their friends, but they also wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to have emotional support animals in the classroom. So while we continue to move forward, it's most important to hear the voice of our primary customer, and that is our students. So those students were absolutely wonderful, so I want to thank our schools for selecting those individuals. They reminded me again of why we do what we do here in Sumter School District, and we still are #SumterStrong. I also want to take this opportunity to give a big congratulations to Croswell Drive Elementary School for being named an Imagination Beacon School. Their Imagination Learning Team nominated Croswell Drive Elementary School for above and beyond enthusiasm and innovative use of Imagine Learning with their staff and student body. This award is part of the esteemed Imagine Learning motivational program, igniting engagement and amplifying confidence for all learners. So kudos to you, Dr. Haggerty, and to your team for your creativity. I also want to say congratulations to Manaya Dawson, a student who attends Crestwood High School, and Palmer Robbins, a student who attends Sumter High School, for joining the South Carolina STEM Signing Day class of 2021. STEM Signing Day celebrates high school seniors from across the country who choose to pursue STEM education at technical programs, 2- and 4-year colleges and universities. Hundreds of high school seniors from across the state applied for this honor this year, and 2 students from each county were chosen as participants. So I want to again extend a congratulations to Manaya Dawson and Palmer Robbins for again representing Sumter School District. And I want to also say congratulations to Caitlin Dubkowski. Last week we had the opportunity to attend a ceremony at Alice Drive Middle School to celebrate Ms. Dubkowski for being named the Swamp Fox chapter of the Air Force Association Teacher of the Year and the AFA State Teacher of the Year. All in one breath, thank you very much. She received a $500 award and will compete for the national level honor. So kudos to you, Ms. Dubkowski, for the work that you do inside and outside of school for our children. And at this time, I'm going to check to see if Dr. Sontag is back with us.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, we got you, Dr. Sontag. You look at you. Your little friend behind you helped. Your aunt, your fire ant.
That's my angel fire ant. I've got to get a devil fire ant for this shoulder, they told me.
So Dr. Sontag, thank you for joining us this evening. Wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to speak to our greater community and to our board and talk about the work that you do for our children beyond their senior year in high school. So thank you for joining us.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm flattered to be invited. It's been a heck of a year. You guys seem to know how to do it. You got this Zoom thing down. It's been an amazing journey for all of us to learn about these different methodologies. I'm happy to report, it's not part of my prepared remarks, but I just got an email a bit ago that for the 5th week in a row, we've had 0 COVID cases on our campus, which is just, what we all hope for. And I'm really happy about that and very proud of how our campus has risen to the challenge. But let me get to some prepared remarks so that I stay on track and don't use up too much of your time. If anyone has a question as I go along, and Shelley, I can see you. If you just start waving your hand and tell me someone has a question, I'm happy to do that or hold them all to the end. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank Superintendent Martin Knox for having me here, inviting me here. I also want to thank the superintendent for inviting me to read with her a few weeks ago. That was a lot of fun for me. I haven't read books to children in a long time, given my own kids are now grown. I want to also thank Amy, whose picture I don't see. I see her name, but Amy, thank you for helping coordinate this, the reading and my visit tonight and all that sort of stuff, so I appreciate that. I also want to thank the board chair and the members of the board for, honestly, sometimes people at the top don't get the praise. You guys praise down, and that's exactly what we're supposed to do, but I want to just take a moment to give you all a shout out for taking time out of your busy lives to serve our students and our community through the Board of Trustees. Your work is very, very appreciated and very needed, so thank y'all for that. I usually do my talks with PowerPoint, but with this venue, as we've already experienced, the sound and all that can get in the way and get difficult. So I'm just going to do this orally tonight. Bear with me. Honestly, it's been a long time since I did it without slides. So, bear with me on that. I'm going to speak about 5 items today, all of which I believe will help you all understand our programs and how the students that you serve fit into what we do at USC Sumter. I'm going to talk about our academic programs, our enrollment and graduation rates, about our early college program, about dual enrollment, and then about teacher preparation. Historically, our role has been as a 2-year campus delivering associate's degrees, but we've also consistently offered 2 bachelor's degrees, the Bachelor of Liberal Studies and the Bachelor of Organizational Leadership. And when I say we offer, that means our faculty teach all of the courses, and we do that here on campus. Along the way, and some of you in the audience may have even participated in this, many of the leaders in town are graduates of our Bachelor's of Business Administration that we have had for many years in partnership with Aiken. And until 2018, 2019, we had a Bachelor's in Elementary Education that we did in partnership with Upstate. Upstate decided to go different directions, pull in some of their resources and focus on the Upstate. And so they pulled out of education, and so we reached out to Aiken again. They've been very good partners with us, and so we now have our education degrees through Aiken, but we saw a little dip, and I'll talk about that in a minute, because of that switch over from Upstate to to Aiken. And we're very proud of this. It's not directly relevant to you guys, but again, I guess in your life and as community members, it is relevant to you. We will have our first 8 Bachelor of Science in Nursing students starting with us this fall in 2021. When I arrived 7 years ago, I came in February of 2014, and I can't tell you how many people said, how come Sumter doesn't have a nursing program? And of course, the obvious answer was because CCTC, our colleagues just to the east, have a nursing program, but we didn't have a bachelor's degree program. And we really wanted to start that program because that's what the hospitals were asking for. And we all know that offering our teachers and our nurses education right here in town prevents them from going away somewhere else and studying and getting gobbled up by competitors in other cities. So we want to serve that need here. Our enrollment picture is one that I'm really proud of and hope, when I share this message with groups like you all, I hope that you will be our ambassadors, not just with your own students and your own staff and faculty, but as people ask you about USC Sumter, you can share this. I'm very proud of where our enrollment is today. In 2014, when I got here, our fall enrollment was 879. That's the lowest it's been in history that we've been tracking. In 2020, we reached 1387. That's the highest enrollment that we've had in 25 years. So we're very excited about the enrollment going up. Over the last academic year, now the shift now to you all in the school district. Over the last 8 years, we have served 920 Sumter School District students. That's an average of 115 first-time freshmen from your schools per year. So that means at any one time, since we usually keep them for 2 years, that we have 200 of your students here on our campus. And I'm going to provide this statistic each time. Hopefully it's useful. 21% of those come from Crestwood, 24% of those come from Lakewood, and 55% come from Sumter High. We're also especially proud of another statistic, which is our graduation rate. Our graduation rate among 2-year colleges and the technical schools in South Carolina, that's all of them, we have the highest graduation rate with 27% graduating within 150% of program time. 33% of our graduates are Crestwood, 22% are Lakewood, and 25% are from Sumter. Now realize 27% sort of sounds low, but you've got to remember that our mission is 2-year and then send them on. So many of them do not choose to get the associate's degree, so they don't officially graduate. They move on. So 27% is outstanding nationally, and we are the number 1. We have the highest graduation rate among 2-year and technical schools in the state. Another program that we've started really with you all in mind, and certainly local students in mind, is our early college program. Our early college program allows students to take full advantage, take full-time college full-time college courses while they're still in high school, completely for free. They are able to take advantage of the lottery tuition assistance program and pay absolutely $0 in tuition. Over the last 7 years, since its inception in 2015, we've served 157 Sumter School District students in this program. That's an average of 22 students per year. And I want to point out it's ranged in that time frame from 13 students a year, and at its height at 40, but it's not constant. It's not constantly been going up. It's up and down. It's been kind of going down the last couple of years, and I think some of that has to do with COVID and those sorts of things. But it was really increasing and had gotten up to 40 in fall of 18. Those early college students, 58% of them come from Crestwood. Really, Crestwood makes up the bulk of our early college at this point. 17% from Lakewood and 25% from Sumter. Now, here's a statistic, and I hope you'll write it down and repeat it to anybody that'll listen. This program, early college, now they graduate, in fact, often graduate from us with an associate's degree before they get their high school degree conferred upon them with you all. We're saving them approximately $26,000 per student by allowing them to have an associate's degree before they come out with their high school, or as they come out with their high school degree. In the history of this program, that's over $4 million that we've saved students and their families in educational expenses. So we're very, very proud of that. It's actually $4,082,000 roughly that we've saved at 157 students. So that's a program we're proud of and enjoy working with you all to bring to your district high schools. Dual enrollment is another one, and the difference between early college and dual enrollment is early college is a full 12 credits or more. Dual enrollment, your students take 2 courses, 6 credits. Again, that's tuition free. Over the last 8 years, we've served, and of course this is a more popular option for your students. Over the last 8 years, we've served a total of 1,149 Sumter School District students. That's an average of 144 students a year, ranges from 39 to 395 per year. So again, it's not a consistently upward trajectory. It varies up and down. And again, for dual enrollment, about 29% of those were Crestwood students, 15% were Lakewood, and 56% were Sumter students participating in that. And really the last item that I want to share with you all, and this is outside of the student numbers and student programs, we see one of our roles is providing employment opportunities and meeting the employment needs of our community. And we all know that you all need teachers, that you're constantly working on recruiting teachers to the area, which is again why we think it's so important to have this program. Over the last 4 years, I mentioned we were transitioning from the Upstate program to Aiken. Of course, as Upstate was pulling out of their program, they weren't recruiting, and so the program fell off a bit. So over the last 4 years, we've had 17 graduates in educational programs. 9 of those are currently employed by the Sumter School District. 4 are employed by Kershaw School District. 1 is waiting on an offer from Sumter School District, so by now he or she may know if they've been hired. 1 is employed by Clarendon School District. 1 moved out of state, and 1 we lost track of. We don't know what that person did. So in my mind, and I hope you all agree, we're doing what we need to be doing. We're educating folks, and they're staying here. Only 1 out of that 17 left the state. And so we are putting the teachers back in your schools, and we're very interested in doing that, and we want to know from you all, frankly, how we can even do more of it. In 2018, we had 9 graduates. It dropped to 2 graduates. It dropped to 1 graduate, and I'm happy to say now that we've instituted the program with Aiken, it's going back up, and just this year we graduated 5 new students in the Aiken program, and that's its first year. So I expect it's gonna be a booming program. So you all, I could go on and on. I could talk about our award-winning faculty. We have 9 athletic teams. We have 20 student clubs. Our students do lots of public service, lots of other things. But I really hope that this gives you all a sense of how important serving Sumter School District and your students and your families is to USC Sumter and our community. So I hope I've covered kind of what you wanted, Dr. Martin Knox. I'm certainly open to more questions. I could talk forever. I'm proud of this place. It feels like home, and I think we're doing a good job, and I hope you all agree with me on that. So thank you.
Are there any questions for Dr. Sumter?
So Dr. Sontag, thank you for always being available to chat, and I'll see you very soon as we continue the dialogue of how we meet the needs of our community and our children. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much. I look forward to it. You all have a great night.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You too. And at this time, we'll move to 6.2 of the Superintendent's Report from the Office of Finance. Ms. Jennifer Miller will talk about the 8% bond projects. Ms. Miller, Amy, can you? No.
Yes, good evening, Chairwoman Dr. Barbara Jackson, Vice Chair Dr. Baker, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Martin Knox. The first thing we're going to talk about this evening is the 8% spring bond, which is your proposed capital projects for the spring of 2021. The board has already approved the financing for this. This is just the list of projects. You should have in front of you the breakout of that. We have maintenance of $3,020,500 and the information system and technology of $979,500 for a total of $4 million. And the page you see now is the maintenance detail. Starting at the top, $250,000 for the Hillcrest Press Box, home side and visitor side. Alice Drive Elementary grading for $10,000. The GPS system for the buses, $65,000. The Sumter High School skylights for $100,000. Handicapped ramps at Shaw Heights for $100,000. Repairing and installing fencing at various locations, $15,000. Repairing gutters, $55,000. Tractor and bat wing for $100,000. Demolition of additional portable units, $37,000. It's storage buildings at various locations for $24,000. Window replacements for $1.5 million, and then lastly, other facility needs for $764,500. Then moving to the last page is the information system and technology. There's 4 items there. Vehicles for technicians, $120,000. Project number 2, access control expansion for $600,000. A trailer for a scissor lift, $9,500, and then other technology needs for $250,000 for a total of $979,500. Are there any questions on the proposed projects?
Questions for Mrs. Miller? No question.
Okay. Moving on to item 6.3, we are requesting that the board review a budget transfer request. The transfer is for the REACH program, which is not fully funded, and so the transfer would be from account 100-221 function over to the account number 100-148 function for a total of $95,776. We are not allowed at the district office level to transfer in the general fund between functions. That's the second set of digits in the account number, so we're not asking for an increase, we're just asking for a transfer between those 2 functions. Are there any questions on that?
I have a question.
Yes, Dr. Hilton?
Ms. Miller, what is the function of 221 that you're taking the funds from?
Dr. Martinez, can you repeat the question? I'm having trouble hearing.
Yes, the question is which function are we taking the monies from to support the REACH transfer?
We're taking it from function 221, which Dr. McLeod, correct me if I'm wrong, that is a function that falls in the Office of Instruction, and that's for instructional technology? Is that correct? That's what that account number is? The 345 is technology? She's shaking her head yes, so I believe that is correct.
I'm sorry, I believe that's correct. We have some funding for some technology services that are now being provided by the state.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none.
Okay. All right, and then the last item that we're going to talk about tonight is 6.4. This is the fiscal year 22 proposed budget. We met last month on April 26th. The only thing that has changed from that, Amy, are you able to pull that? Now you have to keep in mind that these are, again, just projections, and these are the figures as of May 4th, 2021, based on the information that was available at that time. We still do not have a final figure from the state for our revenue, and I am still working with the county on the value of a mill and the millage rate. It is a reassessment year for the county, so they are reassessing all the property values, which changes the number of mills. So they're working diligently to get that, and then the state anticipates that they will pass the budget hopefully sometime in June. So on this slide, you can see here, we have the column for April 26th, which we were having a proposed shortfall of $705,000. You can see now in the center column for May 10th, it is a balanced budget. The revenue has not changed at all. The only thing that's changed in expenditure relates to 3 items. The first is there were 2 additional items that we were informed will have an increase. First is a 1.3% increase from Duke Energy related to our utility costs. So I added $50,000 more of expenditure to that line item. And then second is the health insurance cost. Originally, PIVO was reporting that it would be a 0.8% increase, and it actually now they're projecting a 2.6% increase. So I had to increase that another $212,000. That took the total shortfall just under $1 million, $967,000. And then to balance the budget, we reviewed our vacancies and we built in a vacancy allowance to offset that to balance the budget. This allowance was calculated based on 20 vacancies. If the district does fill all the vacancies, we would go over budget. So this is not a permanent solution for our budget, but this is an allowance that has been built in to balance the budget for this year. We will monitor the budget throughout the fiscal year, and if we fall below 20 vacancies, we will have to make adjustments as needed. Again, please keep in mind that this does include a 1% increase in local tax revenue that was provided by the county in March because it is reassessment year. Those figures can change. It will just depend on the calculation of the mill. And this budget also does not include a cost of living increase for any employees other than the state mandated teacher step increase. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Miller, for your budget, your report from the Office of Finance. We do appreciate that. Okay, thank you, Dr. Martin Knox, for your report with your committee to Sumter School District. The agenda now calls for the board to enter into executive session. I want to take this opportunity to thank our viewers for tuning in this evening. While there is no designated amount of time for how long the board will be in executive session, we hope that you are with us when we return. However, if you are unable to do so, let me wish you a safe and good week. So we're now going to enter into executive session. Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
Dr. Jackson, I move that we enter into executive session for the receipt of legal advice where the legal advice relates to pending, threatened, or potential claims, discussion of proposed property contractual matters, discussion of proposed contractual matters, discussion of individual student matters, and discussion of personnel report, employment, appointment, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, termination, and or release of an employee.
Second.
Okay. There is a motion and a second that the board enters into executive session for the receipt of legal advice where the legal advice relates to pending, threatened, or potential claims, discussion of proposed property contractual matters, discussion of proposed contractual matters, discussion of individual student matters, and the discussion of personnel report, employment, appointment, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, termination, and/or release of an employee. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically.
It's unanimous.
The motion passes unanimously, and the board has now returned to open session. 9.1, actions.
Okay, just go to 9.2.
9.2, proposed property contractual matter. Trustees, do you have a recommendation for the proposed, or Madam Superintendent, do you have a recommendation for the proposed property contractual matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the proposed property contractual matter to Company B.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, a motion has been made and second to approve the proposed property contractual matter awarded to B. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically.
The motion passed.
The motion passes. 9.3, individual student matters, transfers. Dr. Martin Knox, do you have a recommendation for the student matter transfers?
Yes, ma'am. Chairwoman Jackson, I ask that the board approve the student matters or transfers as presented in executive session.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Okay, a motion has been made and second to accept the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the individual student matters transfer. Is there any discussion? If not, please cast your vote electronically.
It's unanimous.
The motion passes. 9.4, personnel report. Dr. Martin Knox, do you have a recommendation for the personnel report?
Yes, ma'am. I ask that the board approve the May personnel report as presented in executive session.
I'd like to make a motion to support the superintendent's recommendation on personnel report.
Second.
A motion has been made and a second to accept the superintendent's recommendation for the May personnel report. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically.
I'm not sure what happened, but you're gonna need to vote again. Did you see,
Yeah.
It came up the first time.
yeah, can we get a voice vote?
Voice vote, please, or raise your hand.
All in favor? Any nays? Any nays?
Any nays? Okay, the motion passes. Dr. Martin Knox, do you have another recommendation regarding the personnel report?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chairwoman. I request to withdraw my recommendation that employee A be non-renewed from employment based on the reasons that were provided in executive session.
Madam Chairperson, I move that the board accept the superintendent's request to withdraw her recommendation that employee A be non-renewed from employment based on the reasons that were provided in executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded that the board accept the superintendent's request to withdraw the recommendation that employee A be non-renewed from employment based on the reasons that were provided in executive session. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically. Or do we have to do a?
Okay, no, you can. Who made the motion? Reverend McGain?
Reverend
Reverend
McGain.
McGain.
And who made the second?
Sean.
Sean.
Okay, you can vote now.
My screen didn't come up.
Did it come up?
Mine didn't.
Mine just did. Found it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
The motion passed.
The motion passes. All right, 9.5. Dr. Mark Knox, do you have a recommendation for the 8% bond projects?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairwoman, I ask the board to approve the 8% bond projects as presented in executive session.
Madam Chair, I move that the board, support the superintendent's recommendation regarding the 8% bond projects.
Second.
Okay,
Sorry,
is,
who was the second?
Dr. Lee? A motion has been made and seconded to accept the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the 8% bond project. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically.
The motion passed.
The motion passes. 9.6, budget transfer for REACH program. Dr. Martin Knox, do you have a recommendation for the budget transfer for the REACH program?
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the board approve the budget transfer to the REACH program as discussed earlier.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation that the board approves the budget transfer to the REACH program.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to accept the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the budget transfer to the REACH program. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically.
Motion passed.
The motion passes. 9.7, fiscal year 2022 proposed budget first reading. Dr. Martin Knox, do you have a recommendation for the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget first reading?
Yes, ma'am. It is my recommendation that the board approve the first reading of the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chairwoman, I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation on the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget first reading.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to accept the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the first reading of the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically.
Motion passed.
Motion passes. 9.8, policy amendments, first reading. ACE service animals, GBGAA service animals staff, IMG animals in school, and JLCDD service animals students. Trustees, is there a motion?
Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the first readings of ACE service animals, GBGAA service animal staff, IMG Animals in Schools, and JLCDD Service Animal Students by removing emotional support language from these policies. Per the ADA, emotional support animals are not qualified as service animals and do not have the same legal right to access public spaces.
Okay, is there a second? A motion has been made and second to approve the first reading of ACE Service Animals, GBGAA Service Animal Staff, IMG Animals in School, and JLCDD Service Animal Student by removing the emotional support language from these policies. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically.
Motion passed.
The motion passes. 9.9, policy amendments, first reading, BDE-R board committees. Trustee, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, yes, I'd like to make a motion that the board approve policy BDE-R board committees.
Second.
First reading.
First reading of.
Okay, a motion has been made and second that policy BDE-R board committee first reading pass. Not pass. Board committees, the motion. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically.
Motion passed.
Okay, the motion passed. All right, we're down to 9.10, policy amendments, first reading, JF, community use of school facilities. Trustees, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that the board approve the first reading of policy KF, community use of schools.
Second.
A motion has been made and second to approve the first reading of policy KF, community use of school facilities. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote electronically.
Motion passed.
The motion passes. Are there any objections to approval of the consent agenda? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. As this meeting comes to a close, please know it is our pleasure that you chose to join us tonight. We cannot thank you enough for your continued support and your commitment to our school district, our staff, our students, our parents, and our community. Continue to practice basic social distancing, wear your mask, and until we meet again, please